There you go. We are in part three. Honor and respect to the chosen, grafted, and let's continue. So, part three. King Nebuchadnezzar tests his servant. King Nebuchadnezzar arose and ruled Babylon for 7 years of bounty. All the death and burning was forgotten in the town of Nineveh. So, this is not new. What the Gentiles always do, or what the priest of Mahan, what they do, they go somewhere, they wiped out the whole place, they steal, rob, rip and rob, murdering, and take everything out, and then they covered it up, and then they don't talk about it anymore, and then they forgot about it. They just leave it into darkness, just like the Spanish Inquisition, and then they made it look like something that's going to happen. Okay, King Nebuchadnezzar arose and ruled Babylon for 7 years on bounty. All the death and burning was forgotten in the town of Nineveh. All right. So what happened is King in this chapter 7, King Nebuchadnezzar tests his servant. He gave 5 officers. I think. I'm gonna tell the story like this. He gave 5 officers 5 towns. So and what happened? He gave 6 officers 5 towns, and then he gave 5 of them 5 towns, and another one he gave like another town. So the 5 officers, what they do, they went to the town, they tax the people, they make them walk to death. They stole all their money, and then they use that money, they buy additional town. But there was one officer, he didn't do that. What he did, he went to one town, he did not tax the people, he fed them, and then every time he fed them, he said, okay, you guys are being fed in the name of Nabopolassar and our God Murdoch. Okay, and then every time he gave them food and all that. So, and the people that were taxed, they got angry. So they cursed the name of Nabopolassar and the God. They're like, man, F them. Them niggas making us work all the time. They don't feed us. Look at those people over there. They look fat, happy, and stuff. So they were looking at their other town. So, and you see, snitches are pretty much everywhere. Okay, snitches of everywhere. So somebody go ahead and told Nabopolassar. He heard of the gossip. So Nabopolassar came in. He saw the 5 town that was taxes. The people, like, they are all skinny, and then they are unhappy, and then they didn't want to worship the god Murdoch, and then they curse his name. And when he went to over to the other town where the people are fat and happy, they were like celebrating, dancing on Murdoch and stuff, and then they were saying all praise and all hail King Nabopolassar. So Nabopolassar was happy with them, and then he came back, and Nabopolassar said to the officer of 5 town, you unfaithful servant, you did not consider the gods as you made your prophet. Now the people are grieved in the name of King Nabopolassar and the name of Murdoch, who sent me. So he have those 5 officers killed, and and he gave the other dude, the other officer that did not tax the people, more money and then more food. So this is a story from the Bible, where the Lord give one person some money. He gave 5 of them some money. One of them buried that money. The other multiplied, something like that. It's in the Bible. They were ripping off the Bible. You see, when you read story like this and then it's well translated, there's no break. That means they are putting a lot of things in there. That means they are putting a lot of things. Okay, fear not them which can kill the body, for any man can do so, but fear him which can add a dark one to your body and soul here and the afterlife. That was the quote was from Yahushua. They were quoting Yahushua because they had all our books, the book of Enoch, which foretold this. They were quoting Yahushua. So Nebuchadnezzar, the king Nabopolassar, what is his name again? Nabopolassar. Nabopolassar tell the people, listen, fear our Lord, amen. You think you can fear a man just because he can kill another man? Anybody can kill a man. Fear the man that can also kill you and freaking kill your soul and take your soul and damn it in eternal hell. So Yahushua did say this in Matthew. So we'll pick that up in the next chapter. I'll show you where Yahushua said it because they quote that all the time. Okay, King Nabopolassar then skinned the greedy officers with knives and hooks in the center of Nineveh, and all who saw offered worship and praise to Marduk. He hung their skins in their garden, and their bodies were burned and thrown over the wall of Nineveh into the Tigris. That's a river. For King Nabopolassar was a pious man. Man, get the hell out of here. And worshipped Marduk with every breath. So this is crazy. So Marduk's temple, people. If you read Marduk's temple, you could actually see they were swagger jacking King Solomon. Okay, they were swagger jacking King Solomon. All right, we're not going to read this. I'll let you read it because the measurement, Nabopolassar built chambers against the temple, 10 cubits high, and then he rested on the temple with timber of cedar. All right, and the words of Marduk was spoken to King Nabopolassar through his priest, saying, concerning this temple which you are in building. You see, they are speaking very well right there. There's no breaking and stuff. He's speaking very well, which show you how the priest of Mahan worked. And the word of Marduk was spoken to King Nabopolassar through his priest, saying, proper English, concerning this temple which you are in building, if you will walk in my statute and execute my judgment and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I will destroy all who stand before you, and I will dwell among you, among the kingdom of Babylon, and will not forsake my king Nabopolassar or his son Nebuchadnezzar. This is straight up from the book of Leviticus and Exodus. All right. This is where's the note? I had a note here. Oh no. This is straight up from the book of Leviticus. Let me see if I can pull that up. Give me a second. I think I got one. Leviticus 26 verse 3. If ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandment and do them. Okay. So Nebuchadnezzar, the monarch said, he spoke. This is what you can see what the priest of Mahan is doing. And the word of Marduk was spoken through King Nabopolassar through the priest, saying, concerning this temple which you are in building, if you walk in my statutes and execute my judgment and keep all my commandments to walk in them, which is straight up from the Bible. There's a better verse, but Leviticus 26 says, if you walk in my statute and keep my commandments and do them, just like he said right here, I will never let the enemy destroy you or whatever. So I think he's verse 7, you know, I think it's verse 7. Then I will give you rain. No, it's verse 7. It's pretty much they just swagger jack. Okay, I'll never let the sword. And you shall chase your enemy, and they shall fall before you by the sword. So, and my commandment to work, and then I will destroy all who stands before you, and I will dwell among the kingdom of Babylon, and will not forsake my king Nabopolassar. So you see how well this is written. It's just like they were pulling from our book they stole in Nineveh and things like that. Okay, the cedar of the temple which was carved read this, people. The cedar of the temple within was carved open flowers, all the cedar or cedar. There was no stone seen. Marduk's oracle, King Nabopolassar, prepared in the temple within the sacrificial altar of Marduk, and Marduk oracle in the forepart was 40 cubits in length and 40 cubits in breadth, and 40 cubits height, and King Nabopolassar overlaid pure gold. This is Solomon right there. Okay. Swagger jacking Solomon, covering the altar which was cedar. So King Nabopolassar overlaid, Nabopolassar overlaid the house with the pure gold, a partition by the chain of gold before Marduk oracles overlaid it within gold. World temple King Nabopolassar overlaid with gold until he had almost finished all the temples. Also, the whole sacrificial altar near Marduk oracle King Nabopolassar overlaid with gold. So all those overlaid with gold is just like King Solomon. Okay, just like King Solomon. So you can read this. You see the similarity, and all that. So King Nabopolassar carved all the wall of the temple round about with carved figures of Enki, their gods and stuff like that. So Nebuchadnezzar then swore an oath to walk in Marduk's law and his judgment and his statutes, to work on the temple physically until it was finished, and give the temple a fountain flowing with milk and honey. All right, flowing with milk and honey. Okay, where do we hear that? Exodus 3 verse 17. Let's pull that up. Exodus 3 verse 17. All right. I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. That was like a common saying, but Exodus 3:17, Swagger Jack right here, until it was finished, and gives you the temple a fountain flowing with milk and honey. That was a saying back there, but anyway, man, whatever. You guys were like swagger jacking, everything that we had. Nabopolassar deathbed statement. So Nabopolassar chapter 9, Nabopolassar was going to die, and then he was passing on his wisdom to his son Nebuchadnezzar. All right, which is pretty much the same name, Nabopolassar, Nebuchadnezzar. It's just like instead of the double S, they put the double Z here. So he was telling his son to work in Marduk, and then do the temple for Marduk. Don't worship no other god than Marduk. Sacrifice your firstborn to Marduk. Kill people and all this bull and all that. So that's what he was telling his son Nebuchadnezzar. And so King Nabopolassar rested in his bed, and his son King Nebuchadnezzar and his queen Amatis continued building the temple to Marduk. So it was with the reign of King Nabopolassar and the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar that Marduk's temple was eventually finished. All right, chapter 10, Nebuchadnezzar feast. Now this is where it gets good, people. This is where you start getting into the meat of the thing. You start seeing those people truly start showing to you who they really are. Okay, those Gentiles. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar's feast. Now, in the springtime, King Nebuchadnezzar made a grain feast. Military leaders, wise magicians, sorcerers, and astrologers, citizens of Nineveh, servants in the Nineveh, the temple prostitute. Keep your eyes on this. The temple prostitutes dances before the military leaders, wise men, magicians, sorcerers, and astrologers. Then they were having an orgy. And the king Nebuchadnezzar displayed the riches of his glorious kingdom. The dude was like bragging. He was like showing everything and all that, capping and all that stuff. The king Nebuchadnezzar displayed the riches of his glorious kingdom, which he didn't even acquire. His father did. But hell, just like the Gentiles, their father do all the crime, and they're showing you all the, Ferrari and all that, as if, yo, man, hey, man, hey, look at me. I want to make you jealous. 4/5 did this. His father pretty much, get everything. 45 pretty much messed up everything until he become president. Look at me, it's me. I'm a narcissist. That's what Nebuchadnezzar was doing. There's no difference. Okay, displays the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellency majesty for 13 days. So they were having a party for like 2 weeks. He was showing them all the money that he had and all that stuff. They were feasting, dancing, and orgy, having sex with the prostitute, the temple prostitute. Okay, 13 days, both for great and small, feasting, and dancing in the court of the hanging gardens, King Nebuchadnezzar gave them drink and vessel of gold, the vessel being diverse from another, and wine in abundance according to state of the king. Also Queen Amytis made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to the king Nebuchadnezzar. So what happened is here, they were partying, orgying, sex, and all that, prostitute, smoking, drinking, cocaine, meth, all these things, so to speak. They were enjoying the blessing, man. They were enjoying the blessing that the Father ripped out from the town of Nineveh. When you really search Nineveh, the Ninevites, those were our people. Those were like one of our tribes. All right, they were stealing everything, and then now they're enjoying partying. So Nebuchadnezzar don't really care because his father already did the heavy lifting. So all he had to do was enjoy it and then things like that. So he wanted to make the king jealous. So people, this is from the book of Esther. All right, this is from the book of Esther. This is the story of the book of Esther. The king asked the queen to display herself. All right. So if you go to the book of Esther, I think which chapter was it? Let me see. I think Esther chapter 110. Let's look at this, the book of Esther. Because Amytis, if you really look into the book, you'll understand there was two Amytis, two queens. There was Amytis 1, which got killed because she didn't want to show up her vag to the people. She didn't want to have sex with all those dudes. She got killed. And there's Amytis 2, which is Esther. All right. Esther 1, verse 10. All right. Verse 10. Esther 1, verse 10. And the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commandeth Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zeta, and Carcass, the 7th chamberlain that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king. So that's Nebuchadnezzar right here. That's the story. All right, when you see, because they keep changing the name. So there's 7 chamberlain. Okay, 1, Mehuma 1, Biztha 2, Harbona 3, Bigtha 4, Albacta 5, Zeta 6, and Kaka 7. The 7 chamberlains. This is very important. All right, let's go to to verse 11. To bring Vashti, the queen, before the king with the crown royal, to shew the people and the princes her beauty, so she was fair to look upon. So the king sent for his wife Vashti. In the book of Nebuchadnezzar, her name is Amisti. So the Amisti 1. So he sent for the queen Amisti to go ahead and then show your beauty. Take off her clothes, strip, dance, and have sex with me right in front of those guys, and have sex with them too, because those people were degenerates. So let's read it. This is straight up from the book of Esther. All right. The king asked the queen to display herself. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king Nebuchadnezzar was merry with wine. You can read it right here. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, okay, all the chamberlain. Let's read it here. Okay. His military lead on the 7th day, when the heart of the king Nebuchadnezzar was merry with wine, his military leaders, wise magicians, sorcerers, and astrologers then spoke to him. The temple prostitutes are indeed the most beautiful women in the land, but are there more? We already have sex with those women. They're beautiful, and then are there more? Should we not see the beauty of the Queen Amytis and the women of the royal house dancing as well? For they were drunk with wine and aroused in their lust. So those guys were drunk and they were horny. So does the women. They were having sex all over. And the counsel and request seems proper to the king. So you know what? Proper to the king whose heart was merry with wine. The king commanded his 7th chamberlain, which they didn't say their name here, but you can see it in Esther 1 and 2. Okay, so next verse, the king married with wine. He commended the seven chamberlain. In the Bible, it says he commended Mehuman, Bitsa, Habona, Bigta, Abakta, Zeta, and Kakas, the seven chamberlains, okay, that serves in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, and to bring Vashti. To bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal to show the people the princess her beauty. So the king sent the seven chamberlain to Vashti, so Vashti can come there and show her privates and do get down. Okay, the king whose heart was merry with wine, the king commanded his seven chamberlain that serve in the presence of the king Nebuchadnezzar to bring Queen Amnesty, in the Bible we know her as Vashti, before him with the women of the royal house to display themselves before the military leaders, the wise musicians, the sorcerers, and the astrologers. For Queen Amnesty was the most beautiful woman of our King Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom, and the military leaders, wise magicians, sorcerers, and astrologers weren't allowed to gaze upon her, which was a custom, which is true. For King Nebuchadnezzar was elevated in all statues to have a queen as beautiful and knowledgeable as Queen Amnesty, and he swelled with pride and wishes to stir jealousy among the men beneath his statue. So he was a freaking narcissistic, all right? He was a narcissist. The dude was a narcissist. We want to show, man, look at all the good thing that I have, man. I got a smoking hot bitch, a bunch of money, my nigga. I'm partying. I got all those hoes with me. Look at my girl. Look at. That's what he was doing. There's no difference from back then and today, because the book of Ecclesiastes is telling you, there's nothing new under the sun. So we're going to in the next chapter, I think chapter 4, we're going to see what the king, what the queen said when they asked her to show a vag. So we'll work on that. All right.